I'm a trainer, but I also believe all of you are trainers. And I want to give you what I consider the most powerful training techniques to train another human being. So you'll see that's next on your sheet. Whenever you're going to train somebody, you must, first of all, establish expectations and outcomes. You must establish the expectations from the training and then the outcomes of what will happen if they do what you teach them. Now, you've always used a word that Art brought into this whole thing, which is coachable. And it's very important that people are aware that successful people who are coachable become more successful. And so being coachable is a critical part of the people that are following you. You also need to, number 2 in training, create emotional involvement. Emotional involvement. I could have just as easily walked in here. You all have something to write on, and I could have dictated some stuff, and I could have done that easily. But I said, no, I'm going to go and at my expense create a little outline, reproduce it, so that you have take-home value. Because you want to make sure you share that Tom Hopkins, in a very small group setting, shared these ideas as to how, as you become an RVP, you must develop your leadership skills. And here are some of those, okay? Also, number 3, get a commitment to the training, kind of like I did with Anthony. We have training tools, and we expect that you will use them. I'm also going to suggest, if you don't have one now, that you develop a library in your office where if you have tools, it can be books. I know I used to always give a brand new person a book. Now, here's what you do when you give someone a book. Like, I'm going to pretend this is my book, okay? And what's your first name? Yeah, you've been with me, haven't you? You look familiar? A couple times. Tony, this book has changed a lot of people's lives. Tom Hopkins is kind of on our team via his books and CDs and so forth. And I'd like to give you this book with your commitment that you will read it. Is that an agreement? I've even highlighted for you some things on each page that I found when I read it are very important. So I'll save you a little time. But I want you to take a yellow highlighter and highlight things that jump off the page for you. Would you do that for me?
Sure.
Okay. Now, I think you can read this book. Well, in fact, I'll ask you. It's 270 pages. You've got yellow things on each page I've outlined. About how long do you think it'd take you to read this book? Approximately.
10 days.
Good. So can we make a 2-week then, give you a little longer in case you get busy. Make a 2-week commitment that you will read this book. Can we do that? Sure. Okay. Well, congratulations. Now what you do, class, whenever you give a book to anybody, you turn to the last couple pages and in the margin write a note. Congratulations, Tony, for reading this far. Let me know because I want to take you to lunch. And then you just wait. If he doesn't come in going, hey, man, when we going to lunch, he didn't get to that page, which means he hasn't committed to read the book, which lets you know something. It's kind of a way of making sure that people do what they're supposed to do. Okay? You might try that, all right? Also, I'm going to show you one of our something I brought for you today, but let me get just a little further down the road here. Okay, number 4, conduct the training, have training. You have it I know almost every Saturday you'll have a training school, you'll have your fast start schools, you have all these things going, but make sure that there's training. Number 5, test for results in the field. See, it's really important when you teach people what to say and do that you kind of watch in the field how they use it. And are they saying the right words? Okay? Then, of course, number 6, review the initial training again. I think periodically you have to go back You've heard Hector Lamarck say he went 3 to 4 hours a day for 2 to 3 years listening to me. One of the fellows getting out in the car this morning says, Tom, I just hear you all the time. It's helping me. Repetition is the mother of learning. You must keep repeating what works. Now on page number 4, it says how to motivate and counsel. I've always had people say, how do we stay motivated? Well, you got to live what this little page says here. Number 1, teach them how to become champions. Now, I coined the term champions when I first started teaching. My company originally was not Tom Hopkins International. It was actually called Champions Unlimited, where our whole, if you walk into my office in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I live and have my office, you'll see a beautiful reception area. And then you'll see right behind the receptionist desk a big sign, Tom Hopkins International, the builder of sales champions, which is what we have tried to become. But I think the word champion you can use. We want you to be a champion representative. We want you to be a champion. So you can't fight the term champion. They're the best. You know, a champion is the best. Then, of course, number 2, be consistent with training. I think there's always time at every meeting to have some type of training. Then, of course, number 3, treat your people's needs individually. Treat your people's needs individually. And number 4 is part of owning a business. Number 4, have high quality training materials. Have high quality training materials available when they're needed. I think you need to have training materials, books, CDs, whatever, where they check them out. Because it used to be a book would leave and be gone, which ruins the training. But today, if you have any other devices, as one I'll be showing you that I brought to show you, they'll walk on you if you don't, in essence, you treat it like a library, see? They have to check it out. We know who has it, so it doesn't ruin the training materials for the rest of the team. Okay? Number 5, have reasons to recognize at least 25%. And that's kind of a rule of thumb. And I've always said if you have 5 people at a meeting, 25% would be, well, like 1 person gets recognized if you have a little bit meeting. You have 10 people, 2 people. 20 people, 4 people. And that's always been the little rule of thumb of great leadership. How can we have 25% recognized in some way? And I've been to some of your meetings with 5, 6, 800,000 people, where they walk them across the stage, their name is read, and everybody's applauding. That's important. That's what motivates most people, because most people on a full-time job get no recognition. And in fact, many of them get negative recognition, where they're told always what's wrong instead of being uplifted as to what is right. Okay? Then, of course, number 6, hold organized meetings. Please, whenever you have a meeting, spend a little time on an agenda yourself. What are we going to cover in the meeting? We're going to not let negativity come in. We do have challenges. I'll handle those in private. We're going to be praising as many people as possible. We are going to have 3 of our people at the opportunity meeting do a little talk. Maybe when you start training people, make sure they stay within the perimeters of time, because that's another thing that can happen. People will get going. I call it speaker fever, where they get caught in the moment and they don't know where to end it. You want to make sure everything is timely, all right? And then, of course, hold or have a brief review. I think you need to have one of your meetings review what's going on as far as reviewing the best training, all right? And see, with a brand new person, watch this now. You can't keep spending time with people, as you've heard Keith say in various ways, that really are not doing what's necessary to get to where they want to be. If they're not doing it, you can't spend a lot of your times. I don't know why many of us in leadership want to work with all the people who aren't doing anything and neglect the top producers. Got to have that recognition. So if you were to come to work for me, I'd say we have Tom Hopkins full-time, and he is on DVD, And Anthony, this is your workbook. What I want you to do is take each session and go through it with your workbook and do the fill-ins so that Tom is training you through his whole 3-day boot camp. And we have that here in our office. And you can check it out, and you can go through it. We're at some of our meetings going to show you some of these sessions, all right? So this, gang, is a way for you to get the new person to not ask you a lot of questions until they have had an assignment of going through the entire 3-day with me on this. It's also great for meetings when you can just say, we're going to review this session today, and you pop that in during your meeting. Now, this session, I told, let me see where my black felt pen went. I told Keith, I said, Keith, you're the first organization to see it. And I want to hopefully have you that are looking for a good training source to say that this is a 3-year training program. That means it'll last you as far as using it to where people aren't getting tired of it, I think, easily for 3 years. Now, as you see, if you look at the back here, the total investment, which is on the very back right-hand corner, you see in red total investment. The total investment for the system is $1,995. Now, that might sound like a lot of money, but any major corporation today spends $80,000 salary plus expenses to have an in-house trainer that does nothing but to train the folks. So in a way, it's a lot less than most companies pay for an in-house trainer. Okay? Now, if you were to invest in that today, to take the system back to your base shop, and I gave you a written guarantee that if you'll apply it the way I ask, the second month, if you don't realize $3,990 of profit, more than you have been making because of my training, I'll give you my check for $3,990 and I'll let you keep the system. Now, what kind of guarantee on your money is that? Anybody? Yeah. It's 200%. See? If you invest this, I guarantee that, and don't take the system back, that's 200% return in 60 days. Now, is that better than money's making today? Yes or no? Of course it is. My challenge is I have no way to keep in touch with all of you, so I just can't make this guarantee. Tom, if you can't make that guarantee, then you shouldn't ask us for this. And that's why I don't. I said to Keith, I said, Keith, let me show this new system. We spent $270,000 in production to develop it. That's what I personally spent in the television work, 3 cameras, editing. It's real expensive to make television, you that never have. Okay? But what we want to do is if you will take the system today, we're going to give you the program for $950, which is about more than half off. And I'd love you, if you decide to take the system home, I'd love you to say, we're making a 3-year commitment to this training, to where I'm going to, in a way, say, Tom is on my side for 3 years. Now, if you'll do that, you're looking at a $316.60 per year training expense, which, gang, that's, you know what you make on one closed case. It breaks down to $26.33 a month. And you can't get a half a tank of gas today for $26.33. Breaks down to 87 cents a day. So for about what you pay for a can of pop, I can be there in your office for the next 3 years training you. Now, there's also a CD. Now, don't miss this. There's a DVD in here that you use to make new books. So, in other words, you use your 10 books I start you with. You take the DVD, it prints out books for you. So you'll never have to worry about having training manuals, all right? So I wanted to share that with you today. I'm going to do something else I'd like to do. This is our most popular CD package. This is called the Academy of Master Closing. I took 350 of the highest income earning people in the United States, not in just financial services. Some of those folks were making as much as the 3.4 million Hector makes. But I took them and I said, we want to record your closes. We want to record what the top people say. We then edited it and made this system. This is 12 sessions, half hours each, 6 hours of the most powerful closing material you'll ever hear. Now, this is a $250 value. If you take the system at $950 today, we're going to give you this as a gift in that package. So I can honestly say you're getting about a $2,200 system for $950 tax-deductible dollars. And I hope that makes sense to you. Because I asked Keith if I'm coming at my own expense, just like when you go into their home and present, you don't charge them. You go in and you present what you have to offer to change their financial lives. And that's why I wanted to show this to you. If you'd like to order a system or take one home, we brought 15 of them to the session to have at least 15 of the leaders say, we're going to have Tom in our office. And when you see the excitement of your people, when you go into your base shop and you demonstrate this, show what you've got for them, and they know that Tom Hopkins trained some of your top leaders over the last 15 years, I think you'll see a tremendous, right now, increase in excitement for you as a leader.